Finally, fun and family. It's your girl Samaya back with another video. I'm going to walk you guys through a week's worth of trading setups as well as the trade from this morning. It actually was a small loss, so I'm going to walk you guys through my thinking, what my analysis was, kind of take you through the motions of it, of like what I was thinking when I was trading these trades last week and the trade from this morning. So without further ado, let me share my screen and we're going to get right into it. Okay, awesome. So what I have on my screen now, this is NG. You guys know I love natural gas futures. So on the the left side of your screen, I have the 5-minute chart where I take my entries. And then on the right side, I have the 2-hour where I determine the direction that the trade is going to go in. So I'm going to take you guys from the 2-hour to the 5-minute and just keep going back and forth. And I'm going to take you through all of last week's trades from Friday, June 23rd to today, July 3rd. Okay, so let's get into it. So here is the 7 o'clock candle for New York session. So it's 7 a.m. my time. So that's what this candle here, right? I always look at the 7 o'clock candle for the earliest entry that I would be looking to take, right? I don't want to take anything before 7. That's just what I back tested and that's what works for me. So at this point, I marked up my zones. So I have my buy zone marked from candle body to wick, okay, off of this candle. And then I have candle body to wick here for my sell zone. So I use this body to this wick, this body to this wick. And I marked that off of the most recent high and the most recent low that's actually on my chart, right? That's physically closest to my opening candle, which is marked here in this white rectangle, right? So this marks the opening candle. I always let the opening candle for New York session to close first on the 2-hour, and then I'm looking to take trades as early as 7 a.m., which would be the very next candle, okay? 7 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern time, okay? So with that being said, this high, right, is physically closest, okay, to this candle here. The reason why you're probably looking at this and like, wouldn't this one be actually closer, right, to this candle? Yes, but I wouldn't draw a zone from body to wick that looks this large, right? Personally, I wouldn't. You can, and it's still a valid zone, but it's such a large area for me. I personally wouldn't mark my zones in that way. So I like this one a bit better because it's a little bit more of a concise zone to go from body to wick here, okay? Same here, right? You would be looking at this and saying, okay, well, this is the lowest point before this opening candle, right, printed. This is the lowest point, right? This is the lowest wick that you see here before the opening candle. That's true, but again, right, similar to this candle, I wouldn't have a zone from this body to this wick that is that big, right? Personally, I wouldn't. So I liked this zone, this candle a little bit better to draw a zone off of. So that's why my zone is about there. And that's as big as I would go for, as large as I would go for a zone. So found a good high, found a good low, okay? And then at this point, I'm just waiting for price to break either of these zones, right? To break to the upside for buys, right? To break my blue area. Or if it broke to the downside and I had a nice red candle breaking out of here, I would have taken the sell, right? So this was a good buy. I'm going to take you over to the left side of your screen now so you can zoom in and see where my entry was off of that candle, okay? So again, this is the candle that broke my blue zone, okay? So over here, this is what that looks like on a 5-minute, right? So all of anything before this orange line, right, is before 7 a.m. So I'm looking at everything to the left of that. I'm sorry, to the right of that, okay? So here it's kind of playing around, right? It hadn't broke my blue buy zone from that I marked on the 2 hour, it hadn't broke it just yet. Okay. So what I'm looking for is for price to break that area, right? To break above it, in this case for a buy, have a pullback, and then I'm looking to enter. Okay. So I actually took this a little bit early. I took it before the actual break, but when it got this close, which was equivalent to this high right here, okay, when it got in this area again, personally, I just took the trigger. I just pulled the trigger on this one. Didn't have a lot of fear about doing so. I did see all this momentum and then the pullback, and then I got that momentum candle letting me know the pullback was over. So that's where I executed my trade. This was my entry candle right there. Okay. And from there, I just wrote it out. And what I was targeting, instead of a 1 to 3 for my TP, what I targeted was this previous high here, right? So if you can see that, I literally just scrolled out, zoomed out of my chart, saw this high, and figured, right, that the market is always going to come back to previous significant areas that it's tested before. This is a previous zone that I drew, so I just targeted roughly that area, and this was a TP smack for a little over a 5 to 1 risk reward ratio. All right, so that was actually a trade on a Friday. I personally love to trade on Fridays. So yeah, that was Friday's trade. The weekend happened, and then this brings us over to Monday of last week. So I'll take you back over to the 2 hour. I marked my zone. Okay. For this one, I took a little bit less than that, but this is, yeah, a little bit less than that. So actually marked this, taking it roughly from, I'll show you guys. So not taking this entire wick, right? Going a little bit shorter than that, and just kind of drew it like roughly just in this area, just about here. This candle hadn't printed yet, right? I'm basing it off of this candle and everything that happened before it. So I kind of just did a rough area of like generally in a zone that I felt comfortable with, which was about right there. Didn't have like the best wick to kind of draw it to. Could have stopped here, but I wanted to capture some of this large wick here. So I just drew it about halfway, like about right there. And then I did have a nice candle to base my sell zone off of, which was a little bit less than that. It was this body to this wick as my sell zone. But it didn't really matter anyway, because price pretty much consolidated this whole day. So just no trade on that day, no trade going into Tuesday. Yeah. So this is Monday. And then coming into Tuesday, did have a little bit better of a day, but still, this was also a no trade day for me. Market was a little bit interesting last week, but pretty much here, it's just kind of like if you look at this and extend this out, no break in any direction. Wasn't until about like after New York session. So this dash line here shows you, and you just look at the time. This is like Asian into London session, and I don't trade NG during those sessions. I only trade it in the morning. So no trade on Tuesday, and then this was Wednesday. We had a beautiful setup here. So I'll just kind of take this back a second. So I had these nice candles to base my buy zone off of, right? Body to wick. This is the opening candle. So I want to look at the most recent, okay, high and the most recent low. So those are my highs. And then the low that I took, I think I've manipulated my chart a bit since then. But this would have been my low right here. Actually, it wouldn't have been this. I would have taken this as a low. Not sure what happened to my chart. Would have taken that as a low. So got my break. I'll show you guys the setup that I took. So if you look to the left side of your screen, this was how my chart looked at the time. So this is 7 a.m., right? Not looking to take anything before then. Very well could have. but decided to stick to my trading rules, right? So 7 a.m., market's a little choppy, comes back to the zone. So what I'm looking for here is when price breaks this area, I'm looking to take it at this point, right? So price had momentum to the downside. I would consider all of this its pullback. And then when I got momentum back into the market, I took it. I actually took it here. I remember this trade. Took it off of this candle. All right. So from there, I just do my usual stop loss. Since I entered off of a pullback, I just took a 1 to 3 here. And I believe I was also targeting, yeah, I was targeting these lows, this previous low before. So targeting these previous equal areas. That price just came back to revisit. And so that just was my simple trade from Wednesday. I'm going to take you over to Thursday. Thursday was a no trade day. Price really just stayed in between these zones, and I just let it do its thing. I want a nice break for some of the cleanest setups for me. So I didn't take this buy, even though I guess I could have, but I'm not trading like reverse trends, right? I want to see it clearly break to the downside out of the zone. And then on this day, I wanted to see it clearly break to the upside if I was going to buy it. But price just kind of played in between those zones. But then last week, Friday, did have a beautiful setup. So just drew those zones out. So if you look over at the 2 hour, those zones were pretty consistent where I could just draw them all the way out for Friday as well. So basing this off of the same zone, you come to the left side. This is where I have my 5 minute. This is the 7 a.m. candle. So after that, I got a pullback and then a nice momentum candle to let me know that price had finished with the pullback and that momentum had come back into the upside. So I did take it here. And I took an early entry. I didn't wait for price to break above on the 5 minute and then come back. I think I'm used to these setups enough where when we start playing around in this area, I'm starting to see the break on the 2 hour. I just execute and just trust what I'm seeing on the chart, right? Seeing higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Pretty much the market just had really good market structure for me to feel confident to take it. So just that shooter shoot mentality and just decided to pull the trigger on the trade. So this was my entry. Could have waited, wait for this break here and then pull back and then taking your trade either here, here, or here even. But I took it a bit earlier. So this was my setup. I was targeting, again, previous highs for my take profit. So if you look here, price, this is where generally price was in this area, a little bit higher. Okay. And then I just targeted roughly that same area from what I was seeing here on the chart, right? Seeing price kind of play around in these same general areas. So targeted that as my TP. We got a TP smack on that one. Beautiful setup. Probably one of my favorite trades from last week. I love trading on Fridays. The market just moves really nice on Fridays. I don't know. Some people don't. Sometimes I feel that way about Mondays. So like what happened today, this was a small loss. You guys can see here where my stop loss was. So my stop loss barely got hit, but did get hit nonetheless. And as you can see, I drew this yellow line here because price continuously just decided to tap these areas and not have a real move, right? Not develop any type of trend, right? So just kept tapping this, kept tapping it, kept tapping it. Didn't even want to come as far as to approach my buy zone. It literally just kept coming to this particular area. So it is what it is. Days like this happen. It's all good. I feel like for me, the move was for a sell. And the reason for that was because I did get this break, right? So this candle broke a little bit to the downside. I took it though, as you know, my confirmation that, okay, we broke my sell zone. Let's take this for the sell. I did hop in twice. So and I lost twice, but there were small losses. But as you can see here, the second time that I entered, I was in profit barely, and then price just came back up and reversed on me to tap that zone over and over and over. So the fact that we have resistance right here, strong resistance at that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 taps to this particular area. So with that being said, I think tomorrow, not predicting, but definitely feel that tomorrow it's going to have a nice sell setup. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to take what the market gives me and trade in that direction. But yeah, that's the small loss from today. But those are the trades from the week. I hope that was helpful. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely don't hesitate to leave them down in the comment section below. If you're already in the Discord, go ahead and send your questions over in the Discord as well. And yeah, I will see you guys on Wednesday in the next upload. All right, bye y'all.